Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the football show with me, Mark, Kyle, and Imran. We hope you've had a good couple of weeks as we've been keeping our eyes across the English Football League and keeping our eyes across our own fantasy league. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Yep,
I'm
yep.
well.
Good to see you. How are you, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm doing really well.
Yes. So you're having a fantastic time up in the Lake District this week. How was that?
Yeah, it was really relaxing. Like I got to go up a mountain on Tuesday, got to
Oh,
go up
wow.
onto the lakes a couple times. Just I'm a big fan of nature, so
Are you?
some of the views. Yeah, I am. I love nature. Just like sometimes I think I'm a photographer at heart, but
Well, I
like
saw you had a spectacular photo, actually. It looked really, really good that you posted up on
yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
Wow.
I got. It was just because I think I went on the hike on Tuesday, and so I missed the sunset that night because I was really tired. But
Mhm.
the day after, I was like, I have to see the sunset because we had a
Wow.
really good view from where we were staying. And so I went out onto the lake and just got a couple photos. And then there just happened to be a couple swimming. They were locals, clearly. And so they asked me
Swimming.
for a photo. Yeah, there was
Jeez.
like,
Wow.
I took a dip in the water only a bit on the Wednesday, like in the middle of the day, and it was already cold enough because it was
Absolutely
like,
freezing, right?
yeah, because though the weather was like 14, 15 degrees, the water was still just as cold. And so
Wow.
at night, when it was like 9 degrees, there was a couple. I was like, "Whoa, you are brave."
Yep. I think since the last time I saw you, Imran, it looked as though you got something coming up there, man. I just noticed what's going on.
Just a little cleanup, just a little cleanup.
Yeah, man, looking good, looking good. So, how did you find the week on the football scene, man?
It was an entertaining week and
It was,
particularly a good
it
week
was.
for me being a Liverpool fan, but also FPL wise, I'm sure we'll see now.
Yes, 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 indeed. I thought we had a pretty special FPL week, but you have good weeks and bad sometimes in this fantasy league of ours. But interestingly, just a point separating the two. This race now is closer than the league race itself.
Exactly, as I was about to say, it's
Yeah,
emulating Liverpool and Man City at the
yeah,
top,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, to be fair to them, they both had a bad week at the same time. They both got, I think, below average or just on average, which for them, which for the standards that they've set, is pretty poor. And for once, I managed to actually beat them
Well, you
by
took quite a
getting
lot of
the
points out
points.
of them,
Yeah,
actually.
so I'm back within 100. I don't know if that's enough at this stage, but you never know.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and it looks as though you put some significant effort in this week to try and hold them back, or they just simply forgot to update the teams, maybe.
Give me a bit
Yeah,
more credit than that.
man, of course, of course. Well, I know you were out of form recently, and I know
Yeah,
you've been kind of trundling along a little bit, but this was a big hit this week.
yeah. I mentioned it last show that I was taking some hits to
Mhm.
get to change the squad around a bit, and I also bench boosted, so I think that contributed as well.
Yeah, well, I see the race for fourth is also getting really interesting between Christian Bumley and Dan Swain, because they also seem to be fluctuating one over the other every week. So these guys are really fighting, man.
It really is like the Premier League in real life now.
It is. I didn't even have a look at the number of points that won the league last year. Can you remember how much it was?
I
I think
think if
Kyle
I
was saying
remember
the other day, yeah.
correctly, it was just over 2.1k. Like I was saying that Wayne had the same amount of points a couple of weeks ago that someone in third had at the end of last season. So
Wow.
I
Wow.
think
I
this
think it was
season
me last season.
yeah, like
So it's going to be a record win, however you
Yeah.
look at it, and I think myself, I might even be looking at some record points as well. Even down at the bottom, there's still some people who are fighting hard to stay out of my clashes. The guy above me, Stephen Hughes, who's a former champion of the league, actually, down there with 81 points in 17th. It's just so unbelievable how people are so committed.
Yeah.
It's just the number of points people are accumulating at this stage of the season seems really, really intriguing, because it looks as though everybody's paying attention.
I think if I remember correctly, I think Jamie Beach still holds the record for the most points in a single season. Because I think it's that season that I lost by 3 points.
We were talking about that this week.
Yeah, I think he got 2.4k if I remember correctly, and I was very, very sad with that loss.
Yeah,
But,
it took you a while to get over that, actually.
yeah, if
And
bold
the
of
thing
you
is,
seem I got over it.
yeah, and you clearly haven't. You've got to win it when you have the opportunity, because that was like 5 years or 6 years ago now.
Yeah, I think
You
it
haven't.
was so long ago that I think it was Giroud's last season at Arsenal.
Wow.
Well, he stopped you from winning the league.
Yeah,
So,
it's got in my head.
well, there you go. And as we said earlier, these guys are fighting hard. But Wayne came out on top this week with just a point ahead now of Paul Aaron. What do you make of this team there, Imran?
I think, well, a poor week for him by his standards, and I think
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
because of his team is very catered around Spurs. The Spurs front three take up a large amount of money, with the really expensive striker being Kane, the really expensive midfielder being Son, and a moderately expensive Kulusevski. So when that front three doesn't fire, I think he'll struggle a lot. Exactly, and I think that obviously didn't help by the fact that he captained Kane as well, and Kane blanked.
Yeah.
About time he got one wrong.
Yeah, but Kane does this to you sometimes, some weeks, and the thing is, Spurs were on a good run of form, and you thought, oh, maybe it might be a good opportunity, but that's a big gamble that he's got there with those three, because if Spurs don't fire, he's slipping, and he's gone right into the hands of Paul Aaron this week, even though, Aaron was top week before, Wayne jumps back to the top, 2,067 points. So a fairly decent showing, even though by his standard, you would say, nah, he's not usually here. You look across the team, you can see he's done on all areas, really.
Yeah, I think his gamble of taking Salah out has not paid off as Wayne. I think this is what's put Wayne ahead this week, because he's still got Salah, whereas Paul took him out.
Well, I think people felt that Salah was hitting a little bit of a patch where he couldn't find the net, and he rebounded in quite a spectacular way as well.
The golden rule of FPL is you always trust Salah.
What, your rule, you mean?
I mean, come on, it's got to be worldwide by now.
He's got at his middle of the season, he had like a 75% ownership. So, I mean, I've never seen a player have that much ownership in all of my seasons at FPL. That is ridiculous.
I wonder if there's anybody that's gone through the season with him all the way. Well, other than Imran. and
I think I might have,
Have you?
I think because I always pick him at the start, because he doesn't stop scoring on the first first game of the season. If you ever need someone to score in the first game of the season, you pick Mo Salah. So I've always had him first game of the season, and I haven't had a reason all season to take him out. So
other than the African Cup of Nations, presumably.
Well, I did take him out for a couple of weeks.
Oh, you benched him?
I didn't.
Really?
Because I knew I wanted to play the free hit in a couple of weeks, and then a wild card the week after. So I kept him on my bench.
Wow. So I think, for the three of us, it was almost back to the regular running order, sadly. You topped out this week, Imran. You topped out this week, man. Huge week.
For once, I finally got the captaincy right, and I think Barnes, it was a double game week, and Barnes didn't start the first game, and I was like, another week where it's going to be a nightmare for a captaincy choice. But luckily, he started the second game and managed to bag a goal.
Yeah, and 84 points is some going at this point of the season,
I know, and it's a very big leap for me. But of course, it came with the fact that I had to play the bench boost. Whether that was the best time to play the bench boost because some players didn't play, for example, Sterling didn't get a shout in the City game. And I think, James did play, but I think he was, because of the goals conceded, he still got 0 points. So I think it was a questionable decision to go for the bench boost, but overall it just about paid off, and we'll see when they use their bench boost in the later weeks.
Well, I see you've been sticking with Ramsdale in goal actually for the last couple of weeks. What's going on there?
I just can't justify using a transfer on a keeper for another keeper.
Another 6 weeks.
Exactly, because I think there was so much to change for my outfield that I didn't really prioritize the goalkeeper. So maybe if I've got a free transfer spare, I'll look into it. But for now, Ramsdale still gets a lot of saves. But the Chelsea it wasn't great, was he?
No, he wasn't. Let's be honest. And but he still scored 3 points. And it looks as though he's going to be there now to the end of the season as well. So you never know. And Kyle was snapping at your heels. I think it was the last game last night with Burnley and Southampton. I think that tipped this one between the two of you.
I mean, honestly, I know I'm probably giving you a bridge here to say we still beat you 4-2, but Arsenal quite disappointed me this week.
Oh, wow.
Honestly,
wow.
That loss against Southampton totally devastated my FPL, man. Like, I think up until that pen, because Saka, did he get an assist against us on Wednesday? I can't remember if he did.
He scored a
But-
pen.
No, what I'm saying is before he scored the pen, because I had him as captain, I think
Mhm.
he essentially blanked in the Southampton game, and he's on the way to blanking in the Chelsea game. So I was like, this is just another abysmal week to pick any kind of Arsenal plays in FPL. But then Saka went and scored. Smith Rowe went and scored. So
I'm really surprised that you've got 3 Arsenal players across the middle of your team.
well, you were in form. I mean, it's not my fault that you went and lost to Brighton and Southampton.
man.
But like, when you're in form, you expect a club like that to be rolling over Southampton and Brighton with ease. But you know, you
It
didn't.
started with
Kept
Crystal
clean
Palace,
sheets
don't forget.
against you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. I mean, Crystal Palace aren't one of those sides. Crystal Palace are a fantastic side. I mean, I was very nervous going into that game last week in the FA Cup semis, but we won quite comfortably. So,
Well, you know, again, a big, and I think you did move up a position in the league this week as well. After
to ninth.
after this, back to ninth. Listen, ninth is all right, man. I'll take ninth. No, I'll take ninth right now if anybody was offering it. To be fair,
honestly, I think between January and now, all it's been with FPL is me overtaking Paul Chandler and Paul Chandler overtaking me in 9th and 10th, just over and over and over again. Like, no one is moving. Like, I think the gap between me and 8th, I think it's either Arjun or Essen that's 8th, and I think they had a massive, massive week a couple of weeks ago.
yeah.
And so the gap between me and Paul and whoever is in 8th just grew. And so unless
So you're
one of
just
us
cut
has a-
adrift.
yeah, unless one of us has a monster week, I'm not sure I can catch 8th back.
I think
up,
you're
so I'm
probably
just
where
sat
you're gonna finish.
there. Yeah, I'm just hoping I don't go below 10th because that'll be miserable.
I hope we get Bajan Girl 70 to come and join the Fantasy Premier League next season. You know, that would be awesome. Talking about Go Arsenal. So come on, come join the league and let's see how good you are. I've got a feeling I know who that is actually. But look, I went to the top of the 3 of us the last time we did the show, but this week I kind of resume my my regular position of 3rd between the 3 of us. But 60 points for me is fantastic. I've written off this season already. I'm like some Man United players. I'm already on the beach preparing for next year, thinking about all of the changes that I'm gonna make. So I was quite pleased with 60 points. I went weirdly with 4 across the back, which I don't generally do at all. I felt United playing twice. Bruno might be able to do something, but he's such a disappointment, man. I mean, oh my days. I don't think there's a more miserable player in the whole of the Premier League. He's just so miserable. And he just seems to always get agitated with everything, and his performance levels always seem to be dipping, and it doesn't seem to work out. And I thought perhaps this week playing twice might have been a good opportunity to secure some points off some United players, but that just did not work well. You know, 6 points from captain is like, nah, bad choice.
I mean, I remember before I moved to uni, which was I think the beginning of September, everybody was raving about Pogba and Fernandes because, like, I think they had that bright start against Leeds where I think Pogba and Bruno both got a good amount of goals and assists, and then over the next weeks they got a good amount of goal contributions. Then middle of September hit, and then since I got here, I don't think I've heard either of their names spoke positively. Like, they've just Bruno especially. Like Pogba gets rinsed quite a lot for his performances, but I can't. No one talks about Bruno anymore. Like,
we don't talk about Bruno.
I knew that was coming.
I almost burst into song. But I was, go ahead, Imran.
You're right in the fact that I think one of the flaws of Bruno, because he can be an incredible player, is he's a bit too emotional when he's playing. He gets influenced too much. If he gets agitated, then I think he loses it a bit.
And I think that's one of his big flaws. He doesn't seem to be able to control his emotions on the pitch, and he loses it quite regularly. Always going on at the ref for some reason. I don't know. You just think, calm down, man. What's wrong with you? But I suppose perhaps, and we haven't talked a lot about Manchester United in this show, but tonight we thought we'll do so because they've been all over the news this week, and it does make you wonder when is the next time they're likely to win the Premier League, actually? Because they seem so far off. And as we were preparing for this, we thought, well, let's just go down the list, or go up the list, however you want to play it back, from Moyes to Eric Ten Hag, who got announced this week. And you just feel to yourself, if you look at that list of managers there, vastly experienced, Moyes and Van Gaal and Mourinho. Michael Carrick, I think, has probably got 100% record, if I remember correctly, because I think he played 3 and won 3.
Yeah.
But for every start, there just seems to be a stutter.
Yeah.
And then you look down and see Ollie actually got 100 games, which is quite surprising.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised when I looked at that stat. I said, really? He actually managed over 100 games? Wow.
Is that just Premier League games or comp?
Premier League.
Premier League games. Got the most of the lot, which is really intriguing. Mm-hmm. And the win percentage, well, you probably would expect Jose, the serial winner, to be in there, but he's not ahead by much. But when you look at the experience that they've had over the course of the tenure that since Alex Ferguson left, everybody seems to part the argument with managers all the time. But these are guys who've done a terrific job, except for the likes of Ollie, who's quite young, and I don't really know what Ranić is doing. But anyway, I don't think anybody can work it out.
You're not wrong, yeah.
No, but it's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to ask yourself now, is this new dawn that's coming, is this really going to do or deliver what the expectation is of the United fans?
Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that all these managers have come and failed points to the fact that it might be a problem higher up, and I think a lot of United fans share that thought as well. And I think you look at the recruitment, it always goes back to the recruitment, and that is the main thing I think that has stunted Man United's growth in the past few years. The amount of money they're spending on par with Pep Guardiola's City, and yet they have nothing to show for it, and it's just because of the amount of failed signings. It feels like when they go to sign a player, they look for the commercial side, for the glamour of it.
How many shirts is he going to sell?
Exactly, rather than how they perform on the field.
Yeah.
So they'll opt for a 75 million option rather than a 34 million option. For example, I'm pointing to the fact Sancho be like Diaz in that situation. Like they will always go for the flashier signing, whereas they should go for the money smart and football smart signing.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, that game the other night was so intriguing. I think it was like the first 25 minutes they didn't even have a touch in the Liverpool penalty area, which was what? Yeah. You just thought, how has that club got to the level that it has got? But I think even in saying that, I was saying to Chris this week, for as bad as they are, they're still fifth in the league.
Exactly.
I think it comes to expectation, because I was having this thought. One of those random thoughts you have on long journeys is that back when I was like my brother's age, like United was such a feared club. You couldn't go to school without one United fan reminding you that he was a United fan, and like
you can't find him now.
Like nowadays, it's like they're so quiet a club, and it's because like back in the day they were so staple. They were the English team, the team of English football. And nowadays, because you've got like, I remember having this debate with, it wasn't really much of a debate, it was more just the usual conversation me and Imran had at the beginning of the season, where it's like, has Liverpool City now become a bigger game than the Manchester derby? I can't remember the outcome we had in that conversation, but like, I mean, I would say it is, just because of how far United have fallen and how major a club Liverpool now are. Like, yes, the Manchester derby has a massive amount of history, but like, it's like we said a couple of weeks ago, you tend to just assume that City will win the game.
Yeah. I love to hear when you young people talk about how big a club Liverpool has suddenly become. Liverpool is the biggest club in England, the most successful club. It's not, it hasn't just happened
it's
recently.
Very ironic that United used to promise, like when I was growing up and seeing obviously what Liverpool went 30 years of the horrible spell, and United fans used to always claim when the things started turning, when David Moyes was sacked, we'll never do a Liverpool. We'll never be like Liverpool going 20 plus years.
I tell you what, 10 years has gone almost already.
They're on the slippery slope, and it's happening right in front of our eyes. It's beautiful to watch for me.
You can't believe that Alex Ferguson has gone almost 10 years already. But when you look down that list there, you can see how change has perhaps been managed quite badly at United, because they don't know what they want and they don't have the patience. And I think that's the key. You can make all the announcements you want, but if you don't have the patience, you're not going to win anything. And there have been some good names in that list, and you just wonder had they stuck with one or two of them or had a more longer term strategy, whether it would have made a difference to where they are now. And you look at the signings they've got, it's all about the glamour and the big name, but it's just not working as a team. When you got a team with Ronaldo and Pogba and Sancho and Fernandez, huge, Varane, huge names, right? But they just can't seem to make it work on the day. So it seems now that all of the hope has now landed with Erik ten Hag, who is the manager at Ajax. What are your thoughts?
I mean,
go on.
Patience is an interesting point that you've just made.
You've got to have it.
I mean, ever since Klopp won the Champions League with Liverpool, every single top club, when they've replaced their managers, somehow said the same thing. They've gone, "Oh, look at Klopp's Liverpool. Yeah. Look what Klopp's done at Liverpool. I just have to got the patience to, see out the manager's plan." And to an extent, that's true. Because I remember, some Chelsea fans were saying that when Lampard got sacked, and I was like, Lampard's not going to win the Champions League. But to an extent, the point is right that sometimes, a manager will lose 3 games in a row, and fans will be like, "This is unbelievable. We can't be losing 3 games in a row like that. That is disgusting managing. He has to go." And you're like, "Well, come on, man. I guess you become restless when you haven't won a trophy in a long, long time."
Oh, I know about that. I know about that as an Arsenal fan. After that 2004 FA Cup win down in Cardiff, we never thought we'll go 10, 12 years before winning another trophy. So it happens quicker than you think. But I feel as though with Ten Hag coming, he hasn't got any Premier League experience. But somebody might say it, but that doesn't matter. He's a good manager. It shouldn't matter that he's never managed in the Premier League. But the Premier League is a little bit of a beast in its own way and has its own DNA and culture around it. And I do feel as though with all of these trophies with Ajax, the best side in the Dutch league, I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced that he's going to actually deliver what it is they want. They've given him a 5-year contract, but, at the end of 2 years, if they're still languishing mid-table and it's not working, he probably will be gone, like Ollie.
What's a reasonable goal for Ten Hag then? Because, realistically, they're not going to win the league, and it's still going to be very, very tough for him to get top 4.
Well, I think Andre makes a good point. I'll come back to your question in a minute. I think Andre makes a good point because the success at United and to a certain extent Arsenal has really become the measuring stick for both of those clubs. And you think anybody that goes in at United or anybody that goes in at Arsenal are trying to do is to be as successful as Ferguson or Wenger. But that period has gone, and you almost have to say it is unlikely that we will see that kind of dominance again because how the DNA of the league has changed. You're not going to see anybody dominating the league that way, I don't think. It's just a lot more competitive. But what is his target? Well, his first target has to be to, I think, number one, to stabilize the squad and try and figure out what it is that's going on. They've got good players. As I said, we're talking about them as a club in crisis, but the 5th in the league, so a 5th in the league is not a crisis just because it's Manchester United that people are making it a crisis.
I think when you look at the manager market that was available to United, I think they've done pretty well because I don't think the options were incredible. So I think they have picked the best, but obviously the fact that he's unproven is a big risk. But the early signs are that United aren't just replacing a manager. They've already sacked their chief scout who was there for 16 years. So that's a good indication of change from the top, and that's how they're going to change. They need to start systematically from the top, and it's about recruiting the right players and getting the right system in place and listening to the manager. I think the manager needs the biggest say, of course, in all the transfers that happens, getting the players that he wants. And you never know. It is obviously a risk adapting to the Premier League, but I think he plays good football. We see that in the Ajax team. He promotes the youth, and we've seen that from the Ajax. And I think he's working at in his time at Ajax, he's worked at a net spend of minus 250 million, which is an incredible sign of a manager that knows how to work with a squad and to use the resources wisely. And I think obviously nothing like that's going to happen at United, but it is just a good indication that you can work under extenuating circumstances, I'd say.
Well, he's come with a big reputation of being able to develop players, and there's this mood in the football community at the moment that players who sign for Manchester United as good players seem to be going backwards when they've gone to United. When in the past you could see the progression, it just doesn't seem to be happening. What do you make of the timing of the announcement though? Because it feels a little bit odd to me that you're going to announce a manager with 6 games to go and he's not taking over to the end of the season. That's really bizarre.
Both times that Liverpool have smashed United this season, there's been a managerial change. So a few weeks after Liverpool smashed them 5-0, Ole was sacked, and a couple of years before, actually, Mourinho was sacked after the Liverpool game as well. Wow. And now that we beat them 4-0, I think to soften the blow a bit, they wanted to announce Eric Ten Hag.
You're the United kryptonite, huh?
But is it a good idea? Because clearly what we saw at Anfield the other night was just so abysmal. But what's the incentive for them to carry on now playing under Ralph? Who, I mean, what is he now going to do as well? Is he going upstairs or is he going out the door? What is his role going to be? Because he's clearly lost the respect of the players.
I think they plan on putting him upstairs, which isn't a bad shout because he's always been a better director of football compared to a manager because he hasn't really done much in his managerial career. But as a director of football, he does seem like pretty smart and what he's done at Leipzig, etc. And I think in terms of when they announced it, I think maybe to try and give the club a bit of a boost because I think everybody really knew it was going to happen anyway. But and Ralph was always an interim manager, so yeah, I don't know how much it'll affect their on pitch performances.
Wow.
They still do have that top 4 to fight for because but I think they're still very much in play.
The performance against Liverpool, it wasn't so much the actual quality, it was just the attitude of the players. I think that just said a lot about how much they feel they're in this fight. I think Bruno said afterwards, Liverpool are fighting for the Premier League and we're fighting for nothing. So maybe in their heads they've already given up on it, and I think it's Arsenal's to lose.
Well, I think so, and I'm hoping that when we talk about fixtures this weekend, that we will see an Arsenal victory. But I suspect that we will talk a lot about this guy in the season to come, and we might talk about this guy as well. we don't know; he might pop up somewhere else. But we decided to stop doing our sack race in this show because we just assumed with 6 to go. Well, that's probably it for the season. Nobody's going to get sacked, and then out of the blue, Dyche is gone.
Can't believe it still.
I thought it was fake news on our first.
Yeah, honestly, same.
Really?
It's just unbelievable, man. I respect Dyche so much as a manager. Like, I know I've said for a while.
Why is that?
I just like the way he plays, and I've
Really?
said for a while that I've wanted him at England. Like before
Seriously?
man, absolutely. Yeah,
What?
like before the Euros, I was like, I genuinely wish Dyche was behind the wheel.
What have I missed?
Yeah, like I just like when you I can't believe Dyche has done what he's done with Burnley.
At Burnley,
like,
you're right.
Seriously, like it's Burnley. Like I don't want to like undermine Dyche's achievements, but looking at that team and looking at what Dyche has done with that team he had no right at all, and he's done it consistently. And the fact that Burnley have sacked him now is funny because I think who did they play over the weekend? Was it Southampton?
Yeah, Southampton.
Yeah, like I remember like a lot of football Twitter were like, "Oh man, I really wish Southampton win this game just so Burnley get relegated." And it was really funny. Like half of English football fans have just like really want Burnley to get relegated, so like they can say thank you for sacking Dyche because like I can't like it's such a shocking like breaking news.
I can't believe it. I was in shock. When you look at some of the names there who he has, England internationals, Nick Pope, for example. Even Kieran Trippier, you look down there in the 14-15 season played under Dyche. So he has, I mean, he's taken some hammerings when you look at some of those heaviest defeats. He's taken some hammerings over the years. But to stabilize a club like Burnley for the 10 years that he has been in there, to finish 7th in the Premier League. And, it wasn't so long ago that we were really, 2 seasons back, Burnley finished mid-table. That's a big achievement.
You got them in Europe. That's just
exactly
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
The fact that you finished 7th in 17-18 is one of the,
that's a
one of
major
the best achievements with a small team in the Premier League. Honestly, it's incredible. And I think one thing that really confuses me is like the way the sacking happened. Like there's no replacement lined up, and it was just out of the blue. Like I don't understand what's going on there. They're just going to go with their assistant manager for the rest of the season.
The under-23 manager, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, what a name.
What a name, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be thrilling. we have to wait and see. But I think Dice got a bad hand, to be honest, because having showed the commitment that he did to Burnley over the years and being able to keep the club stable and keep them in the league, to have been kicked out the way that he was just seems a little bit
even if they did go down, I think you'd back Sean Dyche over anyone to get them back up again.
Absolutely.
So even if they did go down, I wouldn't expect them to sack him in the summer either, but obviously not. But I think he'll be back very soon. I think.
Where do you think he will be back? Where do you think he will be back? Where's he likely to be back?
Watford, maybe, if Hodgson.
Well, that's not a bad show, actually.
If
that's
Watford
not a bad show.
Yeah. But I think any like mid-table to lower-table Premier League team that has a manager sacked next season, their first port of call will be Nuno and Sean Dyche.
Yeah, absolutely. Sad to see him gone though, but I think the way that he was kicked off was absolutely awful. So your guy, your guy Salah, we said a few weeks ago that he's stuck on 20. He's out of form. He's not doing it anymore. He's going to get overtaken, and he's gone and turned things around, and suddenly he's starting to hit form again at the right time.
You can never doubt Salah. He always come back.
There we go.
I mean, the signs were still there even when he was in his bad spell. It's not like he wasn't getting any chances. He was still getting his chances, and he was still creating chances as well. I think he's creating more chances than De Bruyne this year still, even though he's been on bad form and De Bruyne's been on good form. So it's not like he completely fell off, but obviously he just wasn't getting the rub of the green with the goals. And I think Klopp and Salah himself was confident that once one goes in, they'll start raining in again. And of course, that's what happened on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's intriguing that you've got, Salah. Diego Jota is still a fascination for me at Liverpool. I just didn't see that coming.
How he love this guy, man.
How he has arrived there and just every week when he gets the chance, it's gone. That has just worked so well. Yeah. And I saw a piece about Sadio Mane though, about potentially he might be on his way out. And I wonder, because I think Salah is still awaiting a new contract as well, isn't he?
So it's the same situation.
What is going on at Liverpool, man? What you got the inside scoop? What's happening?
I think we are very cautious about going down the bad path of messing up our wage structure, which is impeccable, and ending up in a situation where we have, for example, a 34-year-old Mane on 220k who has declined a lot. So I think with Salah now, his contract, the problem is now the length of the contract rather than the money. And I think that might be a problem maybe for Mane and Firmino as well.
How much time does Salah want?
I would assume he wants to match what Henderson got. And I think Henderson got 5 years.
Wow.
4 years. So I think it's less of a risk with Salah because you know how he looks after himself. And I think you look at Ronaldo, for example, 37, still banging him in. You look at the best players in the world. Yeah. Benzema is 34 and still producing Champions League masterclasses. So Modric 36. So I think in the modern day, it's easier to take that risk on aging players.
Wow. What do you make of the rest of the lineup in terms of Son and Ronaldo and Kane, Kyle?
Well, I mean, Son and Kane definitely
your guy.
I mean, they definitely have a very interesting lineup. And so if Liverpool, because unlike everybody else in this graphic, Liverpool are the only ones that still have European football to fight for. So, I think Imran said this last show that Salah has the most games in his legs out of everybody in the world.
Yeah, he's got some mileage for sure.
So, and that's not going to stop. So if that might be the only thing that stunts Liverpool's growth in the goal tally. But you've got to remember that I think Liverpool's Robertson, Trent and Salah still have the top 3 most assists this season, which is completely insane. But if they keep that up, I don't doubt Salah for Golden Boot at all.
Can we completely write off Harry Kane at this point now with 6 to go that he's not going to get there?
You know what? With any other player, I'd say yes. With any other player, but Kane has a history. I think I can't remember what season it was. I think it might have been 16-17 where he scored 3 hat-tricks in the last 4 appearances.
He can come from far back.
Exactly. So you never know. But yeah, I think this is a bit too far. It's more likely Son or Ronaldo than Kane.
Yeah, I like Son. I know Kyle thinks that he has a patch and then he disappears, but he's staying in my team to the rest of the season. That's for sure. But I think Salah, with the mileage that he's done over the course of the season, perhaps 6 to go is just the distance to get him over the line. And I think you would probably be so desperately disappointed, Imran, if he doesn't secure this golden boot. What are you going to do if he doesn't?
I mean, if we're in the Premier League, I couldn't give a single damn. Yeah, it's something, just a little personal thing that would be nice, but not too.
That's a good point though. Like, because you could lose a lot at the end of this season, man. Like,
exactly. Like, I'm worried about the team trophies.
If
Son
City
can overtake Salah, City can win the league, and you get knocked out the FA Cup and the Champions League, and it's done.
Yeah,
that's the worst season ever.
Yeah,
exactly. It could all fall apart in the space of a month, which is
I remember that used to happen to Arsenal. You know, our season used to end in February. We used to have all this hype about, we're going to win everything. You know, and then in the course of 2 weeks, it's all over. But I think Liverpool are in a good place. You know, clearly they're in a very good place. It was your team of the week as well this week.
Yeah. And I think it was some very interesting performances. I think it's a mixed up team of the week, and you can see it's very top heavy because a lot of strikers.
I haven't seen this formation since I left secondary school, but hey.
A lot of strikers decided to perform. And I think starting off from the back, you look at the Southampton duo, Forster and Bednarek, because obviously there was 2 Arsenal games. We're looking at the first Arsenal game of Southampton. And I think Arsenal had 20 plus shots and hammered Southampton's goal. But Forster was resolute. Can't believe Arsenal didn't score that game. And I think a reason for that was the striker Lacazette, and we see his replacement at the top there has earned himself back into the squad. I think looking at Gabriel, this for the Chelsea performance, and you look at the start of the season how Lukaku bullied Arsenal. Compare it to what we saw.
Where was he the other night?
Exactly. Gabriel managed to. I mean, I know it's Lukaku's obviously taking the mick out of a lot, but he's still a specimen to deal with. He's massive, and I think Gabriel performed really well against him. Didn't give him a sniff. And then we look at the Newcastle duo. Newcastle, what Eddie Howe's done is incredible, albeit with the money he's got. But the Bruno Guimaraes there, he scored 2 goals via Leicester. I think 90th minute winner, including that in that, and he got the assist via Palace on the weekend. So, and he's not even an attacking midfielder. He's a defensive or holding midfielder, and he's still getting goal contributions, which are vital for Newcastle. And I think they're fully clear now of any relegation.
I think so.
Struggles.
Yeah.
Looking at Thiago, wow, honestly, one of the best midfield performances I've seen from a
sensational.
This you can see why he's had such a successful career at growing up in the Barcelona academy and at Bayern, winning so much. And he's just a different class. He's one of the best midfielders in the league right now. You can just see since the turn of the year how he's picked it up, and the football he's playing is just out of this world right now.
Yeah.
And looking to the front four, Salah, Mane in his new position. He's playing striker now. That with the signing of Diaz has allowed Mane to move to centre forward, and I think he's thriving in that, because I think at left wing, with the athleticism that he lost, he was struggling a bit. But this this new centre forward role suits him really well, using his strength more rather than his burst. And I think have you seen the assist to Salah for the United goal against United? It was incredible on the turn, on the pivot, first time, right to Salah's feet. Salah 2 goals, 1 assist. What can you say about him? And looking at Ronaldo v Norwich, what a hat trick! Finished it off with a trademark free kick. Although I reckon the keeper could have done a bit better.
Oh yeah. Ronaldo's had a really bizarre season, and of course we know that he had the tragedy last weekend, which was really, really sad. But he's had a really bizarre season. His goals has come in bursts, and he's still up there with 15 goals. And we all knew that he was going to score goals in the league, but it's just the way that I didn't expect him to get the number of hat tricks that he's actually scoring. And
it's interesting because I know we said earlier in this show, twice actually, concerning both United and then more specifically Bruno. But I'm pretty sure, I can't remember whether it's goals or assists, but Bruno is quite high up there on the tally, which every time I look at it surprises me. I'm like, how on earth has Bruno got this many goals or assists? But I think United have been as a team, have been quite patchy. And Ronaldo has come to their rescue quite a lot this season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's covered over the inconsistencies a lot.
Yeah. And when he does, he does. Like, he's scored many a hat-trick this season.
Yeah. And I see you've put young Nketiah in, who all of us Arsenal fans have been waiting. and suddenly he comes good.
What a game to do it as well.
Absolutely, what a
He's
game to do it.
He's a proper goal scorer. The goals were scrappy, but that's what he is. He just gets the ball in the back of the net.
I think what's needed here with him is some patience too, because he does seem to have that natural goal scoring instinct. He is a goal scorer, but I suspect because Lacazette is in front of him, you do wonder sometimes whether his patience is going to run out and he's just going to try. I know he was at Leeds, I think, last season on loan, and he's got it. He's got what it will take to score goals, but whether he has what it will take to score 20 goals a season, which Arsenal will need from him, remains to be seen. But great player, and what a game it was.
Yeah, I think that performance might have earned him the start for the rest of the season now over Lacazette.
Well, it should do. It should do. I've been very disappointed with Lacazette, and I'm sure anybody with him in their fantasy is probably saying the same thing. But I'll be honest, Kyle, I was not expecting Arsenal to go to the bridge and win. And I was not expecting Arsenal to go to the bridge and score 4, which is, that in itself is spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, going into the game, I was very much the same. I was like, I know they've lost 2 on the bounce in that Brighton-Southampton game, but it's Arsenal and it's a derby, but it's at home. So I could be confident enough that we can take something from the game. Plus, we've just had that heartbreaking against Real Madrid, and we came back and scored 6 against Southampton. So we can go into this with our heads high, fighting for top 4. and then, we conceded 3 before that penalty. And I was like, because as I said earlier in the show, I was at the Lake District. So of all the games this weekend, this was the only one that I was able to tune into. But I missed the first half. So I tuned into the second half, and goodness me. Man, I can't speak much of the first half, but second half, we were awful, man. Defensively, we were absolutely disgusting.
Where was Reece James? All over the place.
Oh, my goodness. Just I can't even pick an individual. And I think there's been a clip circulating around, whatever social media of, Aspilicueta confronting a fan or something. But I think he was our best defender in that game. Some of the defending in that game was woeful. As Imran just said, some of the goals were very, very scrappy. And yes, it was a scrappy goal, but Nketiah's second finish was a very good finish.
It was.
It's just this. I don't like losing to Arsenal. It hurt. And
we wish you were home.
To lose at home with 4 goals, conceding 4 at home, man. That is to any team is just.
Well, just as you don't like losing to Arsenal, this is the frustration that all of us as Arsenal fans face, because how can we go to the bridge and score 4 and have just been beaten by Crystal Palace, Brighton, and Southampton? If we got 9 points from those 3 games, we'll be well ahead of Chelsea. We would have been up there in that 3rd spot, because I actually think that Chelsea are there for the taking, because they're not playing well at all. But in fairness to Arsenal, they went to the bridge and they did a job on them, and they scored 4 goals, which is not normal for us to do. But I was quite pleased. I thought Saka played really, really well, showed a maturity in the game that was very impressive. And I think we're going to have to work really hard to keep hold of this kid, man. Because if we don't start winning stuff, he as committed as he is to Arsenal, I can see him going elsewhere. I was surprised that Tavares got a start, because I actually think that Arteta don't have a very high regard of him because he makes so many mistakes. But to take him to the bridge and start him and he played the whole game, it was like, wow, that was
what's the alternative?
Well, I suppose with Tierney being out, Tomiyasu being out, and to be honest, I think that's where Arsenal kind of fell down in their momentum in the latter part of the season, particularly when Tomiyasu got injured, because I just think he's a good defender. He positionally he's very good.
Solid,
very, very good defender. And I was really sad when he, was out the team. But you cannot fault Arsenal for winning at Chelsea. We went there, we won 4-2. We are happy with the win, and I'm hoping that we will batter United this weekend as well, just to put the icing on the cake, the old rivalry.
I have to say, Saka has matured so much as a player. I remember, hearing immediately after the game was a lot of arguments, both because I had to listen to the game because there wasn't much signal, so I didn't want to stream the game. Right, so I was listening to it and I was following like on Twitter with certain people's comments, and there's a massive uproar. Like, was that a penalty? Was that not a penalty? And I looked at it, I was like, that is absolutely a penalty. Like Saka has completely like manipulated Azpilicueta into covering him instead of the ball. It's a very clever move by Saka, and he's forced Azpi into conceding the penalty.
It's a bit of nous. It's something that Arsenal.
It's clever, man.
Yeah, of course. And
I rate Saka as a player, man. He's
the fact that he's only 20 is mind-blowing.
Yeah. My only fear is if we don't start to satisfy the trophy needs of these young players, you know, and Smith Rowe as well, who, you know, I said in the last game, in the last show, that I've got some concerns about his pace, because he holds and runs with the ball very well, but he just seems quite slow in certain games that when the tempo of the game is at a much higher tempo, he seems to be a little bit lacking in pace. So we'll see how they get on over the weekend, but that was a fantastic win. And, you know, long way in the Arsenal at the bridge. You can't ask for anything better than that, Carl. Come on, man. We scored 4 goals and won the game. Fantastic. So, look, we enter the running. And this is what it's going to be now, guys. You know, this is it.
It's pressure, man. High-pressure games.
What you saying, Imran?
I mean, it's hard to judge each individual game because it's just the importance of it outside of the individual quality of each opponent. It's just the pressure, the fact that City are 1 point ahead of us and we have to remain perfect to even be within a chance. And then you factor in the fact that we've got an FA Cup final to play, which I thought the FA Cup final would be after the Premier League fixtures, but it's actually in between that.
10th and the 22nd?
Yeah, I think it is in between the Villa and the Wolves game, yeah.
Wow.
Which surprised me. And then we've got the Champions League semi-finals. Both legs, I think, cushioned in between Everton and Newcastle.
Yeah, so look at it this way. You could be winning the FA Cup and winning the league at the end of the season. Fantastic double.
But at the same time, we could go out of the FA Cup.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
It could be the highest I've felt as a Liverpool fan or the lowest I've felt as a Liverpool fan.
The emotional roller coaster. Where's the banana skin for you in these 6, though?
I think
it's definitely Spurs, in my opinion.
Spurs at home, but an underrated one, Newcastle away at 12:30 after a Champions League semi-final. I think Klopp's not too happy about that schedule, but yeah, what can you do?
I think Aston Villa could be quite an interesting prospect as well, you know.
Well, hopefully Gerrard, you know, does one for his old team.
What do you think he's going to say to his lads? No, don't bother to try too hard today, fellas.
Exactly, take the day off, you know, you've earned it.
Spurs are a little bit of an anomaly this season.
They need the win, though. Like, they need that win for top.
They do. They've got a tough set of fixtures. I mean, they've got to play Arsenal. They've got to play Liverpool. And I don't know. I just feel, and because the game is at Anfield, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is a fabulous stadium. Mean, it comes across on the television amazing. Yeah. The sound is incredible. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you feel as though when they're at home, they're in their element. Because they're going to Anfield, I just feel you got to give Liverpool the edge. And sometimes you don't know which Spurs are going to show up in any given game. What do you make of the 24th of April? You know,
I mean, surely it's a standard win for Liverpool, but I think it depends how much he wants to rotate with the semi-final in mind. But I think if we play Thiago and Keita maybe in midfield, I think we'll breeze through it.
Wow. Well, Everton need to stay above that line, man. So
I don't rate Lampard at all. So I really do think.
Neither do I. Yeah. I don't even know how he got the job. Lucky, but you know he is a Chelsea legend, Kyle. So perhaps you can defend him.
Not managerially, to be honest. I mean, even I was quite shocked when he got that Everton job. But in all fairness, Everton were very similar to how United are at the moment. Like, they were quite desperate and didn't have much choice. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, United were quite lucky to get Ten Hag. But I guess now that he's there at the end of the season, we'll see what he does next season. When did you say that FA Cup final was in, man?
I think it's the 14th of May.
Oh, all right.
Mm-hmm.
That United, our next 2 games are just...
This is a tough set of fixtures,
boy.
Wow.
Somehow, it kind of makes me relieved that we're out of the Champions League, because if we had to balance Champions League rotation with this list of games, especially like with the last couple of results that we've had. I'm not sure how confident I can be going into these games now. Like that Arsenal loss has rattled me. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Come on.
Yeah, like part of me is quite happy though that West Ham are like. Look, I mean, I am a big fan of David Moyes, but the fact that he is in the Europa League semis does kind of lend to Chelsea.
They'll have to rotate for that. They'll have
exactly.
to.
I feel West Ham will give Chelsea a bite this weekend, man, because they've got the eye on a bigger price. Sadly,
which kind of makes me more comfortable going into that game. But that United game at Old Trafford is quite big. Like,
I can't.
Seriously, like Imran said, like we're kind of falling in form, and United probably need it more than we do. But the thing is, they just don't have fight. Like Everton, like there's just no fight at that club anymore.
I think that United-Chelsea game will depend on the United-Arsenal game. If United can get a result on Arsenal, then they'll have the momentum going into that Chelsea game. But if Arsenal beat them once again, then I think United will be dead and buried.
Is the Arsenal game at the Emirates?
Yes. Indeed.
All right. Yeah, Wolves are always a tough side. I don't like playing Wolves at all. Never been comfortable playing Wolves. Like, you expect to win against them, they just come and hammer you with possession football, and it's like I've never been comfortable playing Wolves, both home or away. Like, I know a couple of Wolves fans believe that they're better at home, but I've always had the mentality that Wolves always perform away from home. I don't know why, but they do. It might just be against us, but they always perform away from home.
I'm looking at that, and I'm realizing that Wolves, their last 3 fixtures must be Chelsea, Liverpool, and City.
Yeah, because
they can decide the title race themselves. Crazy.
They will. I think, in fact, we haven't asked you about Timo Werner, because I think that he's starting to turn the corner a little bit.
Great form,
yeah. It's definitely, because I think he's. Who do we have in the? It's the first leg against Real, though.
That was a making of him, I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
Second leg against Real, because the first leg we got battered. But second leg against Real, he came out and absolutely performed. Like, I think he played, I can't remember who he played the week before, but whoever we did in the Premier League for that second leg.
Was it Southampton?
No, Southampton was after. It was the week before that. I can't remember who we played, but Werner scored in that game, and we played really, really well. And fans were like, yo, he's got to start against Real Madrid. And we were like, yeah, he's got to start. And so he started, and he played very, very well. And I think he got hooked unfairly in that game. And then he went and scored against Southampton. And he played, in my opinion, he played quite well against Arsenal.
I think he will cause a few problems at Old Trafford, actually.
I certainly hope so. I mean, for me, it's just the defence, really, because I think I've heard that Rudiger's now injured. And I'm sure I've said this a million times on this show, but Rudiger is one of our most important players. So
give him a new contract then.
I've heard he's going to United.
Is he?
Yeah, that's what I've heard, that United are interested in the race. But you know what? That wouldn't actually scare me too much, because United play a back 4, not a back 5.
I mean, after that defensive disaster class against Arsenal, I mean, I'm really
disaster class. I love it. You can't stop talking about Arsenal, you know.
I said in the show a couple of weeks ago that, like, I've never been a fan of Christensen, and that mistake that he made for that goal was just unforgivable, man. Like, unbelievable.
I think, you know what, we should do a whole show of Kyle talking about that 2-4 defeat. I think the Arsenal running, for me, obviously the big one is Spurs. We've got the game in hand. The big one is I still see Arsenal Man United as a massive game. You know, that era has gone long time, but for me, there's always something special about that fixture because of its history. Between Arsenal, Man United, and Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is always going to be difficult. Newcastle is a little bit of a slippery one because they're playing well and they're safe. Yeah. And Everton could be playing for their lives at the end of the season. So I really think we've got a difficult couple of games. Had we won those 3, and I'll say it again, Crystal Palace, Brighton, and Southampton, you know, we could have been positioning ourselves to be really consolidating third going into the last 6, but sadly, I don't think we are. And it would not surprise me, because we can be fairly inconsistent if we drop points in some of these games, because Arsenal are a little bit like Spurs sometimes. They can just show up blow hot and cold, or they show up on fire like they did at the bridge the other night, Kyle. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think some of them are going to be a little bit tricky. And I think Andrea is just reaching out to you, Kyle, the hand of peace and fellowship there. You know, new Arsenal fans are always welcome. So I even put on my blue Arsenal shirt for you tonight, man. Come on, man. What more can you want? Make you feel at home. I think overall, I'm not too dissatisfied with what that looks like. I think if we get over United this weekend, which I believe we should, that will give us the momentum to run through May really, really well. And when we do play Tottenham, that is the decider, that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So look, this weekend, we spoke a little bit about it. Anything else jumping out at you, Imran?
I think apart from the obvious ones, the Arsenal United, Chelsea, West Ham, Liverpool, Everton, and Man United, Chelsea. So I think what I mentioned earlier is that the momentum from the Arsenal Man United game could have a knock-on effect on the games going forward through that Man United Chelsea game. I think it could affect a lot. And then I think not much else is going on. Burnley v Walls. You look at who their rivals are. Burnley and Watford got City, so Burnley have a chance to get one up on their relegation rival.
Well, there's a point between Burnley and Everton. So any game with Burnley now, I think, and of course, as we said earlier in the show about the way that they treated Dyche, if Burnley survive this relegation scrap, of course, they will feel a little bit justified in the decision. But they've got 2 on the bunks. So, you know, who knows what can happen this weekend. They are at home against Wolves. I think Wolves travel well, but Turf Moor is not an easy place to go and win.
And I think they'll be looking at Everton playing Liverpool and Watford playing City and licking their lips. They need points from that game. 3
points this weekend, and that really puts the pressure on, because I don't think Leeds are quite safe as yet either.
That's not a bad shot. I think after this Palace game, their fixtures get pretty tough.
Yeah, I don't think that they're quite safe. So the big ones this weekend, you know, Arsenal in the early kickoff tomorrow. The Merseyside derby, and of course, I guess you expect Liverpool to bring that one home, and I think most people will. And then later on in the game week, you know, United Chelsea. So, you know, Kyle, you got to do a job here now. You know, don't let them off the hook. We'll batter them at the Emirates for you and just get them well prepared. Okay, right. So we end with the table. Just a point, just like our fantasy league, a point separating the top 2.
Parallels to that 18-19 season are horrible.
Yeah. I couldn't believe when I was looking down this that United have actually conceded 48 goals this season.
Oh, wow. Didn't they?
That's worse than Burnley.
Listen, when I looked down, I thought, nah, that's not right. Like, wow, who is on? But I think that's an indication how hard David De Gea has to work every game with the
Well, I remember last season, Imran made a really interesting point that I kind of repeated almost twice a week, where like Liverpool had it was between 19 and 21 like centre back rotations last season, and still conceded less goals than Manchester United. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But I think they only was it 45 goals if I remember correctly. So the fact that they've already gone over that with 6 games to go is pretty fascinating.
It shows what shamble they are right now.
Yeah, it really does, and that's why when you asked the question earlier, Kyle, about what are his priorities, he's got to sort his squad out, because he's got to try and find who are the dependables and who are the ones that can really arrest the decline that has happened at United in terms of the back, the middle, and to a certain extent up front. You know, when you really think through the squad, you're like, you've got Cavani up front. Well, how long is he going to be around for? You've got Ronaldo up front. Well, how long is he going to be around for? Sancho has just arrived, but he hasn't really shone as well as you would expected. Fred has had a good season, funny enough, but nobody's talking about him. Matic is probably not going to be around for very much longer. Bruno is too miserable, and then you've conceded more goals than Burnley. So you know, there's problems all the way through the squad, and that has to be a key priority for Ten Hag as he comes in.
I remember a graphic that I saw, like either just before I went to the Lake District or the week before, saying that Ronaldo is now the first 7 since Ronaldo to have 20 goal involvements in a season, which everybody was like, haha, look at how bad the United 7s have been. But then I saw a comment from a United fan saying that Cavani had like 18 goal involvements in the
Mhm.
first half of a season and then got injured in the second half of the season. And I think, I know Imran's quite a big fan of Cavani and always gets scared whenever he's in the starting lineup, but I don't think United have really used him as well as they could have.
Yeah, I would agree. Where I think a lot of the activity in this game week is going to be quite intriguing because Burnley can be out that bottom three tomorrow, with Everton playing Liverpool, and if they lose, suddenly you got Burnley 2 points behind Leeds and Everton scrapping around down in the relegation zone because I don't think Leeds are completely safe yet. So this is one to watch, and of course City are going to be leading the charge again this weekend, Imran.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do anything but win against Watford.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be an interesting one to see. So look, that is the look ahead to game week 34, and that has been the football show with me, Kyle, and Imran. We hope you had a good time spending an hour with us talking some football and enjoying our chat about our fantasy league, and we will catch you on the next one. See you soon.
Bye.
Yeah.